All right. Hello, hello. My name is Jonathan Story, and the game I've selected here is Joust. Now, to kind of get into the basics of Joust, see if I can pull up the single player game. There we go. It's the basics of Joust. Joust is a Atari 2600 game that was also had a arcade port, I believe, that was developed by Williams Electronics in 1982. This is actually the same company that developed, or the same group, if you want to call it that, that developed Defender, which is a very, very well-known game from the Atari as well. That was also had an arcade port, very, very popular, alongside Joust here, which was also very popular. A little fun fact about Joust is it came out during a time of just prolific space-themed games, space-themed flying games, but a lot of games back then were about space in general. And the development team, led by John Newcomer, which is kind of a funny name to have if you are in a new industry such as game development at the time. He wanted to keep the flying mechanics that a lot of games featured, or a lot of those games featured back in the day, but steer away from the space theme. So he made Joust, which features knights on ostriches. Okay, personally, I really like Joust. Actually, it's one of my favorites, or one of my favorite, I would say, Atari 2600 games. I did have an Atari 2600 growing up. I had quite a few games on it. Joust was definitely a favorite of mine, and one of the reasons that it was a favorite was for the co-op, which is another interesting feature of this game. A lot of these older arcade games, or many of the older Atari games as well, actually didn't feature two-player, like as a mode, for this kind of game. So it's just kind of a neat thing that they put in here, and I remember playing quite a lot of it with friends and family. So the general idea of Joust is you want to get on top of the enemies. So I'm this little orange ostrich in the middle, and the goal is to get higher than the enemy knights on their ostriches, and joust into them, and then collect the egg that drops from the ostrich that you kill, or from the knight that you kill. The knights will turn different colors. The different colors move a little bit quicker. That's pretty much all they really do. I got killed there. I think the different colors just move faster. Yeah, so the goal is to just clear every stage, kill all the knights, collect the eggs, and so on. I'm not sure if there are a lot of similar games to this. One thing that does come to mind is Super Mario Bros., the first one, before it was really a platformer. But you'll notice the stage design is, or the Super Mario Bros. Stage design is kind of reminiscent of this, where you have the platforms on the sides and the little platform you start underneath. And then also these bonus stages here actually reminded me quite a good bit of it. In Super Mario Bros., you actually have bonus stages like this where you have to run around and collect all of the coins to get bonus points. And that was also a feature that was somewhat unique to this game, were those bonus stages in between. And when I say unique, I mean it kind of commandeered it. Yes, there's also those creatures there that are kind of hard to make out what they are, but they're supposed to be pterodactyls. And they kill you if you touch them, so don't try to joust the pterodactyls. As far as, hold on, let me grab this. There we go. Yes. So as far as game mechanics go, you really only have a few controls. This is pretty common amongst a lot of these old Atari games. Is you move left and right, and you tap your one input button. I'm using the space bar on my keyboard to jump, and you just have to get higher than your opponents here and touch them to kill them. Very, very simple mechanics. There's also some mechanics with the red bar at the bottom of the screen that's actually supposed to be lava. So if you touch that, you die instantly, and there are some enemies that will try to bonk you into the lava, or try to push you into the lava by getting above you, and then you have to dodge into the lava. Yes, one more mechanic of the game is if you leave an egg for too long, then it will spawn back into an enemy knight, and it will be one level higher, like this guy. So you need to be sure to try to catch the eggs as quickly as possible so that you don't get these higher level knights spawning. That can be a real problem. Let's deal with him real quick here. Oh, missed him. It's been a minute since I've done this. There we go. Okay. All right. What's kind of unique about this game, honestly, is the physics, the momentum-based physics of the game. There weren't a lot of Atari games that explored like more, I don't know, physics-based games like this. A lot of them were like a spaceship or a person walking along the ground, and you would do a very telegraphed jump in a particular direction you couldn't really control. This one actually has quite a few levels of control when you get used to it. It's not random, that's for sure. You can kind of finagle your guy however you like to move him. I believe on a side note, I believe every 20,000 points is an extra life, so I think I should have been dead there. Like, that should have been game over, but I had enough points for an extra life there. What do I like about this game? Well, first of all, I actually really like the graphics of this game. For an Atari game, it's actually pretty interesting. The platforms are kind of shaded, which is pretty neat. And while the graphics are very, very simple, which is common for a lot of Atari games, I feel like there's actually a lot of work that went into the animations on this one. You can tell with the ostrich, how many different frames the ostrich has for running, moving, sliding, flying, all this kind of stuff. It's a very colorful game as far as the Atari is concerned. And I don't mean colors, I guess in that sense. There's a lot of far more colorful games for Atari, like Yar's Revenge, one of my personal favorites. But this game just has a lot of heart to it as far as the visual style and animations go, which is pretty neat, I think. Although if you look at the other games by the same team, which is Williams Electronics, they all kind of have that in common, where they do a lot with the screen, which is quite impressive, for sure. Another thing that I thought was kind of neat about this is that a lot of early games, be it Atari, be it Sega, whatever, here I'll demonstrate it here by pulling in a second player. A lot of early games that did feature this two-player mechanic either had the two players as cooperative or versus, and for the most part it was versus. The whole co-op thing was not as common, but in this case you can actually work together to collect or kill all of the enemy knights, or you can choose to fight each other, which is pretty cool. You actually have multiple options, multiple game modes you can swap between. I believe this game mode makes it so that you cannot harm each other, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, and then I think as far as other mechanics go, that's pretty much it. One thing I don't like about this game is that while just to make it brief, while the physics are pretty good, and again, they're not really physics, it's just emulating that, they do exist in like a radial pattern. So you'll see if I just tap space, I jump straight up. If I tap space into the right, like this, I jump like 1 unit to the left. You can see it better if I stop. So you go 1, 2 to the right, 1, 2 to the left to go back to neutral. So it doesn't allow for a ton of fine control. But again, there's a lot of limitations for the hardware that would make anything more than that very, very difficult, I imagine. It's also like kind of makes sense mathematically, like there's some kind of radial system going on here that dictates your movement, so it makes it a lot easier for the machine to handle. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is Joust. It's a great game to play, a great, fun little arcade experience. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, peace out.